1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Post-match show reaction live. 1, 2, 3, 4 sound check. It is the Royal Blue Podcast. It is the post-match reaction show following Everton's draw with Wolves. I'm your host, Ian Croll, and joining me in the Royal Blue studio this evening to talk all things Everton, to talk a disaster of a night.
Yeah.
Tony Scott. Tony, I don't really know where to start, to be honest. I'll be honest with you, we've literally rushed down from the stadium. We've just got here. I genuinely don't really know how to sum up this game, because I thought, obviously, first half we were 1-0 up. I don't think we played amazingly well. I thought we were the better team. Obviously, Wolves just looked terrible. Second half, I just think we were probably the architects of our own downfall from so many angles, so many points of views on the pitch, potentially the manager as well.
Yeah.
The referee obviously didn't help. I'm sure we come on to the two sending offs, but what has seemingly turned into what looked like was going to be a routine night for Everton has turned into an absolute disaster.
Yeah, and you can't even make a case for anything. And I know you can say, like, listen, we've lost, like, our best players are out and whatnot, but comfortably Everton should have beaten Wolves today. The bottom of the league for the reason. Yet they have picked up of late and they've got some decent results. They haven't had any hidings. If you look at the recent results, they were unlucky against Arsenal. They picked up a win against West Ham. The worry for me is that we're not creating chances against these sides. We've played the bottom three teams in the Premier League and not won anything. And that's a concern. We're not creating chances. I get it. Obviously, players are missing. But Everton sleptwalked into that performance today. He thought 1-0, we're cruising, we'll step it up a gear when we need to, and you can't afford to do that in the Premier League, regardless of how poor Wolves are. Now, if you stop and try and raise your game in the Premier League, you'd be found out. And Everton continued to do that in that second half. They thought the game was won. The manager thought it was won. He didn't make changes when he should have done. And he paid the ultimate price. I thought Matheus Mane for Wolves was outstanding. He looked the one, he obviously took his goal well, but he looked the one that when you're looking at teams that are being relegated this season, if there's any of them you can actually go and try and buy, he's the one that for me, I'd be all over in the summer. But that's by the by, that's a long-term conversation. But the performance today was unacceptable the second half. And we'll point fingers at the referee and whatnot, but I thought the midfield lacked guile, lacked energy. I thought Addison Ronson actually played well and really well. I was surprised he actually came off as well. And I was really surprised that Dwight McNeil actually stays on for the length of period of time.
Dwight on at the time.
I think a lot of Evertonians were probably suggesting the same thing. Thierry Barry was poor. I thought the back four was poor, apart from Michael Keane, I'd say. It was a poor performance overall. They took the lead and thought, like, we'll comfortably see this out. And you can't do that in the Premier League. You can't drop your levels. And Everton sleptwalked in that second half, and Wolves got the just rewards.
I think it was definitely more the second half. Obviously saying it was a poor performance. I thought the first 35, 40 odd minutes, I thought we looked definitely the better side. Yeah. I thought obviously we took the lead. We had a chance. Keane had another chance ready at the post, and James Garner had a chance as well. I don't think that was his best game, if I'm being totally honest. Obviously, you can be critical of the midfield, and we will be, because I need to watch it back, but I don't know how Mane ended up through on goal the way he did. Obviously, you're going to look at the midfield and you're going to look at the defence. I thought Timmy Abuman played well, to be honest, certainly in the first half.
In patches.
No, in the second half, I thought this is just coincides with the whole team. I just thought he faded a little bit. He gave the ball away. But there was occasions where I thought he looks like, again, you've got to take the rough with the smooth, I think, with Idaboom. And there was plenty of smooth, certainly in the first half, but there was obviously a little bit of rough. I'm finding it hard to sum up, like I say, this game, because, like I say, there was certainly positives, and I know Wolves are poor, so we shouldn't really compare that performance against the bottom of the table side. But I'm struggling with the fact that we don't look like we've got a plan on how to score or create chances, other than just, again, I've revert back to this, but just pass the ball to Jack Grealish, because there's no one else on the pitch who we turn to who looks like they can create anything. It's always just pass the ball to Jack Grealish and hope for the best.
But if you haven't got Ndai and you haven't got Dewsbury, what do you do?
Well, to be honest, though, we made sure that we said before this game that we've got to have a sense of perspective because of the players that we've got missing. Yeah, Ndai and Dewsbury certainly would have made a difference today against Wolves, but that team should be beating Wolves.
Of course, yeah. And I totally accept that it should be comfortably beating Wolves. But we allowed Wolves to grow in confidence.
Yeah,
and we shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you've got to kill games off. And the longer that went 1-0, Wolves obviously smelled blood and go, hang on, there's a bit of anxiousness in the crowd. You can see the players getting anxious, making sloppy passes, couldn't keep hold of the ball. Idaboom was getting knocked off at the ball. Because Idaboom from the penalty area, he's a box-to-box midfielder. He gets to the penalty area and he has a nosebleed. He completely breaks down, loses all sense of direction where he is. And that's him in a nutshell. I thought James Garner didn't have the best of games. I thought Alison Armstrong got about well. Looked composed on the ball. Should have stayed on for the full 90. But listen, the doctors or the medical staff or whoever will be advising Moyes, we don't know what's going on there.
I think it was just because we were down to 9 men.
Maybe. Then obviously brings Patterson on and holding on, obviously, to the point because you've got 9 men. We'll probably touch on the sentence off shortly. I thought Tarkowski has another really, really poor performance.
Nearly made a mistake which let Wolves in as well.
Wolves in a game, which he did. It's if like he's trying too hard to play out from the back.
But there's got to be instructions on that basis, because we are doing that quite a lot, I think. Certainly when we've got a goal kick, this Tarkowski pass to Pickford or Pickford pass to Tarkowski, and then it's kind of like, well, we're going to go long in a minute anyway, so just hit it long. What's the point?
I can sense, obviously, you want to draw.
Yeah,
you want to draw them in, and I fully get that.
But if you're going to just hit it long, you're not set up then because you're trying to play out from the back. You just give the ball away.
See, the problem what it was for Wolves' goal is that as a centre back, he doesn't go fully with the lad who drops to get the ball, receives the ball. So he either doesn't go with him and he doesn't stay back with Michael Keane. So what actually happens, he gets stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And by that time, Mane gets in behind him and O'Brien actually watches him go past as well. So it was between James Tarkowski and Jake O'Brien, where Mane obviously got through and slotted past Jordan Pickford. And in the end, we were on the ropes. It could have been, Wolves could have easily won that towards the end. Pickford makes a great save. And in hindsight, now you're looking back and going, right, maybe we should have killed that game in the first half when we had the chances. But you don't in the Premier League. We haven't got the strikers to kill off games. I've said it time and time again, and everyone says, oh, he's naming strikers, but they're your bread and butter. They're what make you, they kill games off Stone's head. When you,
what chances did Barry have?
I totally understand that, but even like half chances, that's what I'm trying to say. You could even actually say he had half chance, to be honest. I'm probably contradicting myself, but in them games where you're 1-0 up and it bounces to someone, it's bang it in the back of the net. That's what I'm trying to say, but we didn't have much of that today, to be fair.
Even the goal we've scored, it's very similar to goals that we've scored in the past at home. It's not like a wonder goal as such. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice touch from Keane, and you know, you could almost describe it as a striker's touch, like it was. You know, decent ball in from Idaboom, but you know, it's almost it's not like a big chance created, is it? Do you know what I mean? When you're through on goal, or nice passage of play. But
because we haven't got the creative players to do that.
But they're the type of goals that we're scoring. If it's not a set piece, or if it's not a bit of a scrappy goal like that, we're not scoring any goals.
We haven't got our creative players out on the pitch. We've got Jack Grealish, who's surrounded by 2 or 3 players.
Well, okay, let's go to team selection then. Moyes seems to think that on Sunday Dwight McNeil was not good enough, so he took him off at half time, but he was good enough to start the game today out of position on the right.
What's the option? You've got Tyler Dibling. That is it. That is the option.
I'll be honest with you, I'd rather play Tyler Dibling at this moment in time. At least he's a right winger. Dwight McNeil's not a right winger, and I just can't understand this persistence of Moyes playing Dwight McNeil. He's playing him as this inverted
right
winger, and he's got no pace. You need pace to be an inverted right winger to be able to cut inside.
But then there's been a clamour at Jord this season saying we need someone to whip the ball in because Ndai and Grealish are chewing the ball quite a lot. So when one of them's missing and we bring Dwight McNeil in to whip the ball in, it's not really there. It's redundant. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's like, what do we... If that's the only choice that Moyes could have actually made today, is Dibbling or McNeil. Apart from that, it's Patterson for O'Brien, but that's not going to make a blind bit of difference for me. So I'm just looking at it. Dibbling, I think what he saw in Dibbling's performance against Brentford, he was kind of physically bullied out the game and he didn't get a kick in. It was like
that's Brentford though, isn't it?
Exactly.
This was probably the game for Dibbling, I think.
There's an argument for that, and again, it's in hindsight. He's probably seen you actually got bullied everywhere on the weekend against Brentford. Can I afford you to play in that role where I'll probably get more work rate out of Dwight McNeil? Again, hindsight's a great thing. I'm only thinking what Moyes may have been thinking about the logic behind his decision to start Dwight McNeil rather than Tyler Dibbling.
When you've got players available, play your players in your right positions. Dwight McNeil's not a right winger, and this persistence of playing on the right is bizarre for me.
I get it. But that just shows you literally how threadbare this team is now. That is the only, I'm not saying the only argument or the only fault we could have a go at Moyes for is it's either Tyler Dibbling or Dwight McNeil. That is it. You look at that bench today, and I had 2 goalkeepers, academy players, Adam Asnu, Beto and Dibbling.
I don't think it's a sole factor why we didn't win the game, but it certainly contributes to the fact that we're not utilising our players from an attacking sense how we should be, really. It's a £35 million, £40 million winger on the bench whose position is a right winger, and Dwight McNeil, who couldn't barely get in the side a couple of months ago, is now seemingly a mainstay in the side.
You were calling this?
That's right, and I was, but that was on the basis that players were going to be out injured, players were going to pick up injuries and suspensions.
Likewise,
he would get his chance. I didn't think he'd play consistently over this period.
Because we've got that many injuries and suspensions. That's what it is now. So he's having to play. So there's no option. What is it? You're basically flicking a coin, aren't you? You go Beto or Barry, who starts, and then you go McNeil or Dibbling, who starts. That's it, innit? That's all we've got to play with. By the way, the team that Moyes sent out should have beaten Wolves comprehensively. I fully understand that and accept that. But when you've got basically 2 cards to play, that's what you've got.
Well, I think the first half performance, again, it's not a barometer to measure against, but we were the better team. And, we were 1-0 up, and we go into that second half. We should be full of confidence. And you are right, in the Premier League, you've got to take more chances, you've got to score more goals because you're going to get punished. Yeah. But I don't know whether we just sat back or we just thought this is, coasting, and we just let Wolves back in the game. And the Wolves are the poorest side in the Premier League, but they're still a dangerous side, and they proved it today. I mean,
we allowed them to grow in confidence because we were dropping deep, sitting back. Obviously, in terms of the passing was sloppy. Everything about that second half was horrible, and it weren't Everton. Everton like to be on the front foot, get your crowds off your seat. That's what you want. Show a bit of character, show a bit of fight, and they just dropped. I don't know whether it's a lot, and I'm not making an excuse here, far from it. I don't know whether it's a lot of games for the same group of players in a short period of time. I think that's the only logic, because they just dropped the levels. Like, we haven't seen them levels in the second half. Really, really poor performance.
I don't think you could argue too much against that, but I just think performance levels from a quality point of view dropped as well.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, we are live, so keep getting your comments in, keep getting your questions in. I'll read some out now. Tony Walsh says, embarrassing second half performance. The players let the supporters down badly tonight, particularly Keane and Grealish.
Yeah.
Unless we get players in this month, we will finish 12th, 0 progress. And
I agree with that one.
Barry Grundy says, really good in the first half. Then after an hour, the team started to sit too deep.
Yeah.
Then Wolves equalised. The Keane sending off was harsh, but Grealish was a disgrace. He got sent off on purpose. I mean, it's probably a good time to talk about the sendings off. So,
obviously, you wouldn't say he got sent off on purpose. No professional football wants us to do that. But the sendings off, in fact, there was 3 sendings off today, and only 2 was given. Sure, anyone listening now or watching in has watched it on the TV. The Michael Keane sending off, it's violent conduct. As a referee, he hasn't seen it, and then he's been sent to VAR by a more experienced official in Chris Kavanagh. So he has sent him to VAR and has told him that Michael Keane has tugged on his hair and pulled it down. It's violent conduct. Whichever way you dress it up, what happens if it's a sheer pull? That's not the case. It doesn't matter if it's a sheer pull or anything. He's pulled his arm. He didn't do that. He's pulled his hair down.
It's a strange one.
And he's grabbed hold of it for a lengthy period of time. It hasn't just been one of them. He's pulled it for a consecutive length of time. Whether regardless of whether you like it or not, it's ridiculous. That's the letter of the law. It's violent conduct. And the second one is pure stupidity from Jack Grealish. You'd expect under 7s and under 8 kids to do that to the referee. It's petulance. And clapping a referee in front of his face, what do you think he's going to do? Think he's just going to stand there and allow that to happen? It's a fully deserved yellow card, which he picked up one just shortly before. It's a sending off. But the other sending off that wasn't seen is Chan right through the back of Harrison Armstrong's calf. So if VAR is willing to interfere, so if Chris Kavanagh is willing to interfere with the sending off for Michael Keane, he's got to interfere for Chan's challenge on Harrison Armstrong. It's a naughty tackle right back on the back of Harrison Armstrong's right calf. It was a poor challenge. It should have been a sending off, and I cannot believe that VAR never sent the referee for it. If you can send him for the Michael Keane one, you've got to send him for the Chan one, and he wasn't. So for me, there was 3 red cards in that game. 2 were given against Everton. There should have been 1 given against Wolves.
I find it hard to argue. I mean, Grealish shouldn't. You just don't do that. I mean, the referee. I mean, some of the referees, they need to have a bit more backbone and just try and wave it off. But you just open yourself up to a yellow card. And if you've already been yellow carded, you'd open yourself up to a second one as well. The Michael Keane one, if pulling someone's hair is violent conduct and that is in the rules, then it's in the rules.
Yeah, it's in the rules,
I just don't know what he's doing. Why is he pulling?
He's gone up for an again. When Everton,
you don't need to pull someone's hair when you're going up for an header.
Again, he's not the best of players, the Wolves centre forward, but he's caused a little bit of havoc for Tarkowski and Keane today. And that should have been the case. We speak about how Thiago run Everton ragged at the weekend. He scored another 2 tonight, hasn't he, as well? So, you know how well he's doing. But again, any big centre forward that's holding the ball well, it's causing us a lot of problems lately. And that shouldn't be the case. Keane and Tarkowski were the foundations of what we've been so successful for, the heart of last year. But this season, Tarkowski's having an absolute nightmare. He's all over the place. His passing, his head, mentally looks all over the place as well on the pitch. He's making strange decisions, strange passes. He doesn't look the player he was. And listen, when Jared Brantwaite comes back into the team, there's going to be one player missing out for me, and it's going to be James Tarkowski.
Even after when he made that mistake where Wolves got in, he even looked shocked himself that he'd made the mistake. Yeah. He was like shell-shocked a little bit. The problem with Tarkowski is because he's the captain and Moyes rates him. Obviously, he wants the experience of Tarkowski in the team. There's no consequence for Tarkowski if he makes a mistake, and the fact that we're limited, or we seem to have been limited with the amount of centre-backs that we've been able to play.
We're limited all over the pitch, Ian. But we are limited all over that pitch today.
What I would say is, I think Moyes' hand's going to be forced now for Sunderland.
Bring your boots.
O'Brien's going to have to play centre-back no matter what. So, be interesting to see who he plays right back. I mean, Tarkowski started the season poorly, and then he seems to have found a little bit of form alongside Michael Keane, and then over the past couple of weeks, he's just seemingly lost his head.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we'll give legitimate reasons why Everton have performed so badly in the last couple of games. But tonight, that second half, you can't legislate for that. You cannot stop playing football in the Premier League. You cannot get deeper. You have to make in-game changes. And David Moyes didn't make them in-game changes. How Dwight McNeil lasted the full 90 is beyond me. He should have been taken off. He was running on empty. He weren't contributing to the team.
Giving the ball away. He had the ball in his possession, perfect opportunity to try and break, and he just lose the ball.
There's an argument to say you get dribbling on just to try and withdraw you a few fouls, even for that, just to get you up the pitch. Because McNeil was doing the opposite. He was giving fouls away in key areas.
He just needs to stop playing him right back, right mid. And I know, listen, I do think it was a contribution as to why we weren't great up top, but it wasn't the sole reason why we didn't win the game. But he's not a right winger. Don't play him right wing. Stop playing him right wing.
Where would you have played him?
Today?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have played him. I would have played Diblin. I think he deserved to be dropped after his performance
against
on
Brentford.
Sunday. If Moyes didn't think he was good enough to play Brentford, then he's not good enough to play today.
But he didn't think Dibbling started against Brentford and must have kicked the ball about 2 or 3 times. It was like honestly, it was like he looked. When you're playing it like as I don't know, he looked like a little bit shell shocked in that game against Brentford. Dibbling. Like he was playing against proper men. That was
I think so.
Very,
I think you're
very
right, and I think we all agreed with that because Brentford were physical. But this is a Wolves team who were bottom of the league, and
of course,
you know we were the better team in the first half, and second half, I just don't know.
What I'm trying to say is that did Dibbling do himself any justice to start today? Now they did McNeil, by the way, I'll vouch for that. So it was probably a flick of a coin, to be honest. Moyes has probably sat there and gone, I'll probably get a little bit more work rate out of McNeil. That's the only legitimate reason I can probably think of why he's got the nod. That's it. There's nothing in terms of not much else between them at the moment. So that's why Dibbling's been sat on the bench. It's like the Beto and the Barry situation. You can flick a coin. The centre midfield picks itself at the moment in terms of Addison Armstrong. He'll probably start. I've been a big advocate of putting James Garner in at right back at the moment. I'd prefer. I know he's been playing well of late in the middle of the park, especially against Nottingham Forest. But I'd be saying to him now, listen, we're struggling at the back, especially at home. Everton, the fullbacks Everton have got, they're very good in what they do away from home. That's why I think we've got like a more or less identical records home and away, haven't we, this season? It kind of works out that. And away from home, they're solid. They don't cross the halfway line.
They don't need
perfect.
to,
They don't need to. At home, the onus is on Everton to break teams down. So Mikalenko and Jake O'Brien, yet they were getting forward. Mikalenko had a couple of shots in the first couple of minutes, but the quality's non-existent in the final third. No. It's nowhere near the levels what you need to be when you're trying to break teams down. So that's what's hurting us. So the fullbacks aren't creating. There was an onus on Jack Grealish today, and that was it. The forwards had nothing to work off. Yet we'll be critical of Barry's performance and Beto when he came on. But I'm not being funny. Erling Haaland wouldn't have scored in that game today. You're feeding off scraps. Absolutely scraps. They were created absolutely nothing. And they sleepwalked in that second half and stopped playing football. They stopped working hard. The manager should have made some... And obviously with the players, I know he's not blessed with the greatest bench at the moment, but he still should have made 1 or 2 changes during the second half.
He needs to recognise when things are starting to make a little bit of a turn, and you're starting to let that, the opposition back into the game, and that's exactly what happened today. And too late then to make the subs because we're already down to 10 men and we're already down to 9 men, and then it's literally just a case of just hanging on, isn't it? Yeah.
What did you think of the atmosphere today? Because I spoke to a couple of Blues and he said Brentford, it wasn't the best. Today, I thought it was a little bit better, and I could see the South Stand really trying to get behind the team as it was going on. But obviously, the players have got to play the part in that. And I just thought that second half, you could just sense the anxiousness right throughout that game, right throughout the whole second half. And if any team was going to win it, it was going to be Wolves, obviously, with the 9 men.
I think there was attempts by sections of the fans in the South Stand, lower and upper, to start chants and singing and stuff like that. It goes back to what you've just said there, and it goes back to what I said, midweek, is that something's got to happen on the pitch. It's never been any different, really. You can always, for the big games under the lights at Goodison, the fans were always going to be up for it. And I think we did that for Newcastle, we did that for Arsenal. Obviously, a little bit different with the Wolves game today because we were on a bit of a downer following the Brentford game, and I think that the pressure was on a little bit to make sure we got a win today. So I don't know whether the fans were they're expecting just the worst. The atmosphere was it was okay. Obviously not the best, but I just think it's a whole new experience and completely changed from Goodison. But the atmosphere it was never great at Goodison, really, was it?
Only in night games if you're playing a Burnley on a Saturday morning.
A poor decision or a tackle went in or something like that. It's never been any different.
Do you look at the league table now? I think obviously we're like maybe 5 points off, whatever, 5th or something like that, and obviously we're not going to get relegated. But is this probably where we deserve to be at the moment, where we are? Because we got off to a really good start. We were up there near the top end of the table. What I mean by that is like you're floating around 6th, 7th, 8th.
Yeah.
We've lost obviously 2 players to AFCON. We've lost our best centre-back. Kieran Dewsbury, one of our better players, has been left injured, and it's no coincidence we've dropped since, albeit obviously take away that Nottingham Forest victory, we've dropped, and that's where we are. We can play a really best 11. We can put a really good 11 out, but scratch the surface beyond that, and we are really, really struggling. And the squad it's been bear fruit. You can actually see the limitations of it right now.
I think we knew we were going to struggle when Adisagay and Illiman and Dye were going to leave, but you can't account for Kieran Dewsbury all being injured
and Jared Branthwaite
at the same time. I mean, I don't want to use Jared Branthwaite as an example because he's been missing the whole season. I think those, obviously, if he was in there, don't get me wrong, he's straight back in the team. But with those 3 gone, certainly the 2 of Kieran Dewsbury and Illiman and Dye, it's obviously 2 players who are influential and have huge impact. They score goals and they create assists, and they had done previously before they went off to AFCON and before they got injured. I think the most disappointing thing for me, and it'll be the same for everyone, is that these 2 games represented an opportunity. Now, 6 points obviously was the only 2 was the points that were available, and I think we all thought that we could maybe at least get 4.
Yeah,
I think 4 would have been the minimum that we would have expected, and what have we come away with? 1. I mean, looking at the table now, again, the table league position wise, it's not great, but points wise, it's not that bad.
I know.
So the table is still, it's
very compact.
It's very compact. It's still conjoined together. The issue and the problem that I've got now is that obviously we got the cup on Saturday, but then we play Villa away, where we could be in danger of starting to be cut adrift from probably the top 9, top 10 over the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be a tough game against Villa.
Oh yeah, and listen, and that's probably where we deserve to be when you're losing your best players. If you take your 4 best players out of any team, they're going to struggle. There's City. City have lost the 2 centre-backs this week, and they've drew at home to Brighton tonight, haven't they? So there's Arsenal. You take Arsenal, Saka and Gabriel and Rice and whatnot out of their team, they're going to struggle. So for a team with Everton, with their small squads that they've got, you take the 4 best players out of the team, they are going to struggle. That's what we've seen. They have struggled and limping over games. Now, there's an argument to say, if we'd have been beaten against Nottingham Forest, which many thought we would at the time, and beaten Brentford and drew tonight, many would have said, that's not bad there, considering, do you know what I mean? Because we've done the opposite. We've beaten Forest, been beaten off Brentford, and we've drawn tonight. It's just the nature of way it's gone. It's how you're feeling towards and after the game. It's crazy the way it feels.
Again, I said this the other day, I'm trying to not get too high when we win and too low when we don't win. Obviously, it's disappointing tonight because we should have won. We expected to win. We're playing a team bottom of the table. Okay, they've picked up a little bit of form, but let's face it, Wolves more than likely going to go down. Just looking at the table there, look at Brighton. They were flying a couple of weeks ago. They're just above us in 11th. Sunderland, they've been trounced tonight 3-0 by Brentford. They're 10th now. They were 4th and 5th the other couple of weeks ago. Newcastle have jumped to 6th after beating Leeds 4-3. I didn't realise that. They were 3-2 down, so obviously that's been a dramatic ending to that game. And my worry is now just becoming cut adrift of...
Well, it's the top 3 and the rest. If you look at it, points-wise, it's the top 3, they're away, and the rest, and then the bottom 3. In a nutshell, the league is formed with 3 mini-leagues at the moment. You've got the bottom 3, they look toast. The top 3, they're miles away from everyone else. And the rest is so compact. I think it's about 9 points, splitting Liverpool in 4th. And I think it's Nottingham Forest in about 15th or whatever it may be. So, listen, where we are is where we are. We're all disappointed with that result. We're disappointed definitely with the second half performance, but again, it shows the limitations within our squad, because I'm sure Moyes, if we would have had just a guy on the bench, or obviously Kieran Dewsbury, and then you can bring the likes of Addison Armstrong on, or obviously Dwight McNeil on to see out the game would have been better, but you're having to start these squad players now, and it's bearing fruits how poor of a squad we've got. We are seriously struggling for numbers. That Sunderland game on Saturday, if you're a decent footballer who's an Everton fan, bring your boots, because there's a potential to that you'll get a game, because it's going to be really fascinating and interesting to see. Right, when obviously the physio and the doctor will speak to Moyes and they'll say, right, there's your fit squad, pick a team from that.
I think, personally, and whether other fans are going to do that, we just might need to reassess expectations. We were obviously talking up Europe the other week, and rightly so, because we were up there. You know, you dare to dream, that's what you do as a fan. Just looking at the table now, Brentford have done what we should have done, or what we were hoping to do. They've just won the last 2, and they sit in 5th on 33 points.
What Brentford have got, I'm not going to admit, obviously, Brentford have got a solid team that are growing and developing each season. There's been not much change there.
I've had a new manager the whole time, a new manager change.
He's basically the set-piece coach. He's been there for... But basically, how Bournemouth and your Brentfords and your Brightons run, the manager comes and goes. There's no change at the football club because the recruitment team are running it. They've got a 20-goal a season man in Thiago. So they're on 16 now, 17 goals for the season. Ruthless. They're playing to, obviously, his strengths. And they're scoring a lot of goals and beating Sunderland 3-0 tonight. They deserve to be where they are because they are recruiting correctly and they've got a decent squad. That's the big thing. We haven't. And it's showing us limitations at the moment.
There's definitely argument though, so, and I know you do agree, and everyone else will, but that, you know, Moyes needs to start playing certain players in different positions and, you know, giving opportunities and maybe not giving certain players too much of an opportunity.
Okay, so if Dibbling starts today, do we win that game comfortably? Do we see it out rather than McNeil? Is that the only thing? Is that the only thing you could say that you have a go at Moyes with?
No, because
what would you have done?
You're gonna roll your eyes at this, but obviously you could have played Patterson at right back and put Jake O'Brien in the middle,
and then Michael Keane sits on the bench.
Keane and Tarkowski certainly. I mean, we just said Tarkowski needs dropping. So would you play Patterson? I think Patterson probably plays there on Saturday.
He does now because obviously you've got no else. But basically, Patterson, would you have started him today on the basis of what you've seen in the last 5 years from him?
It goes back to being, you know, getting your full backs to give the team balance and be able to move forward. But
they're not quality. That you can because you're playing that position doesn't mean you're going to win a game of football. They're not good enough. They are not good enough. Simple.
Well, he was good enough to be on the team that won against Nottingham Forest the other week.
He was dragged off. Don't forget, I don't think
he was dragged off.
Well, they were getting in behind him. Moyes seen it and then brought Maitland Rowe off for the entire second half, more or less. Maitland Rowe was playing right back.
You said it yourself, though, so the full-backs are redundant.
I totally get it.
There's no point.
100%
I can have Jake O'Brien playing right full-back against an Aston Villa in the next match. I can have that because it's an away from home.
But that's the limit.
We need to do something a bit different at home then, sitting against the bottom of the table side.
You play Patterson, you know what you're getting with Patterson? The lad has got his limitations quality-wise. He's not the best going forwards and he's certainly not the best defending. And that's what you're getting with him. All them managers cannot be wrong about Nathan Patterson. So I don't know, all of a sudden he's become this saviour. Why he should have been playing.
It's about the balance of the team and being able to
But you can't just play someone who hasn't got the quality because he naturally plays in that position. He's not good enough to play Premier League.
The Jake O'Brien experiment at right back, certainly at home, it's over now. It's failed. It's not working.
So Nathan Patterson, say for argument's sake, he starts against Sunderland and they run rings round him, like the majority of wingers do.
I'd rather play James Garner there.
I agree. Yeah, that's my argument. And I'm saying James Garner, for now, although he obviously has dropped levels in the last couple of games, I will play James Garner at right back because not many get past him, regardless of playing right back or left back. And he's good going forward. He can whip a decent ball in. I will be starting James Garner at right back. I'll be putting Tim Rubin and Madison Armstrong in midfield against Sunderland. That would be they'd be my go-to straight away. Jake O'Brien and obviously Tarkowski at the moment have to play, and that's where you are. Mikalenko, for as poor as he is, he's a shoo-in because there's nobody else, and that's where we are. It's going to be really fascinating, the team on Saturday, but it's going to be one where, right, David, there's your 13 fifth players to pick from, and you've got to pick some lads out the under-23s. You are quite clearly not good enough, and then your 2 goalkeepers, and the rest are making up. Okay. It wouldn't be surprised. It may come to a decision now, but he's may have to say to the board, look what I've got. I need players in now.
Because it's not a quick fix now. I don't care what anyone says. Just because we go in the market in January doesn't mean it's a quick fix. We need to buy a right back.
Oh, 100%. So that may have now gone up a level in terms of
it's going to have to. Otherwise, obviously we don't need to necessarily be looking over our shoulder too much. Like you said, I don't think we've got to worry about relegation, but you certainly don't want to be dragged into it, do you?
No, and do you know what? I was interested to. You won't be dragged into it. With 30 points or something, haven't we?
No, West Ham are only on 14.
There you go. So it's never happening. It was. I've been speaking to like, a few Blues like at the start of the week, and we were saying like, possibility to get 6 points and get up the league with these winnable games, obviously. And I said, you give me one game to win out of these 3 this week, it's Sunderland. If you were to ask me, Sunderland was the one I want to win this week so much because I want to have a dream. We're not going. It would all obviously we were chanting for Europe and everything else, and it was all like tongue in cheek. But you don't know if you put a couple of wins together. You don't know where you'll end up. If we get our best players back, there's maybe a chance if you can go on a little bit of win and run. You don't know. We've got wherever it may be, but that's probably where we'll probably finish between 8th and 15th. That's probably where we'll finish this season. That's probably the limitations of the squad at the moment in terms of the full backs and the exposed full backs and the centre forwards. But give us a dream in the FA Cup. That's the one I want to at least have a good cup run. Give the Evertonians a bit of hope. Because of obviously the disaster that happened at Molineux in the League Cup. Moyes has got to go for, well, in hindsight now, if he would have had the best players, he would have went, I'm sure he probably would have went for it. But now he's just got to go everything out and try and beat Sunderland on Saturday. That's the one out of the 3 this week. I said at the start of the week, that's the one I want to win. When we're not equipped for Europe, we may have an outside chance of Europe. So yeah, it's tough to get the Brentford defeat, and obviously tonight, but Sunderland's the one. I want to just have a good cup run, because if you can get past Sunderland's, then the next round you've got Jude Bjork back, you've got Ndai back, you've got Adissa Guy back, you've got Jared Brantwaite back. All of a sudden, you just need a little bit of a look in the draw, and you don't know. That's the one that you want to win on Saturday.
We're going through a frustrating period, aren't we? And we've had a tough run, obviously mixed in with a draw against Burnley and then a win against Forest. But I didn't expect 1 point from the last two, and that's the most frustrating part. Look, beat Sunderland, and who knows what could happen, but they're going to come into Hill Dickinson on the back of a 3-0 thrashing by the looks of it from Brentford, who were in fine form by the looks of it. So.
And they'll have quite a lot of supporters there.
Again, I'm trying my best to keep perspective. We're missing our two of our most influential players from an attacking point of view, and even when they're on the pitch, it's still a bit of a struggle to score goals, isn't it? So it's going to be even more of a struggle when they're not on the pitch. But the problem is we don't know when Kiernan Dewsbury's back. We might have a rough idea when Ndai's back, but what state is he going to come back? I'm not saying he's not going to be fit, because he might be fatigued. He might be a little bit fatigued. So we need to be careful with the expectations of Ndai when he comes back as well.
But all supporting Marley tomorrow, aren't we? Hoping that Marley beats Senegal and he can come back early.
Is it the final against the Sunday that we play Villa? I think that's the final. So even then, he's obviously not going to be back for that. But just frustrating. So
it is. And do you know what? It's a poor performance. We get back to, obviously we've talked about the sentence off. These should have been 3 for me, 2 obviously against 2 were for Everton, and 1 obviously against. And I think the Addison Armstrong one, how that hasn't gone to VAR is, if VAR's quite happy to get involved and re-referee a game, and what I mean by that is that the referee hasn't seen it quite clearly. It's an act of violent conduct. He's been sent to the monitor. He's obviously given his verdict, and that's it. But he should have been sent to the monitor for the tackle on Addison Armstrong. It's a poor challenge. I couldn't believe he wasn't sent to VAR. Yeah, I get it. It's difficult for the referee because he hasn't seen it. He hadn't seen the hair pull. He hadn't seen, obviously, the tackle on Addison Armstrong. But VAR has sent him over to the screens for 1 incident and not 2. That's my argument. I've got no arguments with the Keane one, and definitely no arguments with Jack Grealish. That's just absolutely petulant. I cannot believe he's actually done that to a referee in the Premier League. So for someone so experienced to start applauding a decision in front of a match official, no, I'm not having it. I'd love to be sticking up for him and saying it's wrong, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's poor from an experienced player. It's his first sending off in the Premier League as well. He should know a lot better. The Michael Keane one again, he pulls his hair. It's as simple as that. It's violent conduct. Whether you like it or not, it's in the letter of the law. But the one for me, that's it at the moment, is the Addison Armstrong. You'll see it on obviously your socials and on your TVs. It's a horrendous tackle right down Addison Armstrong's right calf, and he should have been dismissed as well, but sadly he wasn't. And Everton have only took a point from a winnable game, which we were all looking on in a couple of weeks' time, thinking let's beat Wolves and let's climb the table. But it went to be because Everton stopped playing football in the second half. They sat back, they allowed Wolves to grow in confidence, they grew into the game. Moyes didn't make the in-game changes he should have done. And the crowd got anxious with that, and Everton got deeper and deeper and deeper. Give them sloppy balls away. Obviously, with the 9 men in the end, he were hanging on. And that was that. Yeah, really, really poor night overall.
Well, try our best to stay positive. Obviously, thank you for everyone who's joined on the live stream and anyone who's listening on Apple and Spotify after the fact. I mean, do we dare name an Everton man of the match?
Oh, Addison Armstrong.
Okay.
Yeah, Addison Armstrong for me. Look, very, very mature. He's 18.
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to, you think looking at him that he's been playing in the Premier League all his life. That was his first Premier League start today. That's it's, you know what, I think I was speaking to obviously Chris Beasley saying when he was the last Scouser to start for Everton in the Premier League. I think we went back to Anthony Gordon was the last one as well. So yeah, I thought Addison Armstrong.
If we're going to be critical of Moyes, I think we should be, complimentary that he made the bold decision to start him today. I thought he would start at least one of them, and I'm glad that he did start him because he's obviously brought him back from Preston, and I bet you he's been a bit frustrated with that decision because I think, am I going to get minutes here? Am I going to start playing? And the first week that he's back, he does get a start. So there's no reason why I don't. He should start. He should start again.
Yeah. 100% he starts. 100% he starts. Definitely got to start.
Okay, we'll finish off. Thank you for everyone who, like I say, watching on the live stream. Frustrating night. Obviously, perspective. Try and keep a little bit of perspective. Hopefully, get Kieran Dewsbury all back, get Illiman and Dye back, get Gay back, and hopefully Brantwaite will be back soon enough. And 4 players who you would think would transform that team.
Brantwaite and Dye walk into most teams, don't they?
Without a doubt.
So yeah, listen, get them players back, then we can start climbing the table. But Saturday's the one. Saturday's the one. It doesn't matter how you play on Saturday. Yeah, there's been some poor performances. I don't care if they perform poorly on Saturday and just get through 1-0. I'm not bothered. Just get through that round. So then within the next round, and then by the time we play that next round, we've got our best players back. Okay, well, we will have a post-match podcast after the Sunderland game, so look forward to that one. In the meantime, we will be back on Friday, where we will probably have the last word on this, and then preview the Sunderland game as well. So, we will see you soon.